Going back to JD Vance for a second, there was an old clip of Megyn Kelly's interview with him shortly after Hillbilly Elegy became like such a hit.
Yeah.
And it was early on in his marriage to Usha. In fact, she was expecting their first baby when Megyn Kelly did this interview. And I just thought this was such an interesting flashback because they asked him about running for office in it. And so this was a really cool kind of little bit of history. And he has had such a glow up,
I was as
man.
close
Such
to
a
a
glow
nervous
up.
breakdown as I've ever had. The stress of law school. Mom had just had a heroin overdose. I was in love with this girl, Usha, but I didn't quite know how to be in love with her in the way that I wanted to be. And I just thought to myself, you finally got to this place that's going to guarantee that your life is going to go well, and you're struggling with all of the things that you thought you'd gotten away from.
With Usha's love and support, JD graduated and they got married. Now they're expecting a baby boy. Family is close by, including his mother Beverly. She's clean now, but JD keeps his distance. After a brief maternity leave, Usha will be commuting to Washington for a Supreme Court clerkship with Chief Justice John Roberts. But for now, they're settling into a new house.
So back to Columbus.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, one, it's about to have a baby. It's good to be close to family. But, you know, the things that I care most about are not in San Francisco. They're not in Silicon Valley. The things that I care most about are the opioid crisis, about solving some of the issues that I write about in the book. And you can only do that, I think, when you're actually close to the problems and when you're actually on the ground trying to help.
To know whether JD's gonna run for office.
Who's everyone?
Everyone. Just everyone. Trust me. I speak to them.
Okay.
What do you think? Should he run for office?
I think someday, if the time is right, and if he really feels that that's the best way that he can contribute to his home, then I think that would be a great idea.
Why do you get uncomfortable when that idea comes up?
I think that, you know, when people ask me if I want to run for office, part of me wonders, like, do they think I just give off a used car salesman vibe?
I think it's more born of hope that you could be a real change agent.
Yeah, no, I think that's the optimistic take on it. I'm very flattered when people ask me, and you never say never, but it's just not something that I think about doing right now.
And so we left JD Vance, 32, home again, on the cusp of fatherhood. Whether his past will interfere with his present, well, that could be another book.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And now he's vice president.
Right. But the thing about him is I really love him as VP. I mean, I love Trump as president, don't get me wrong, but I really love him as VP because he's all of us, you know. He's the kind of guy where you can show your kid and say, you can do anything. You really can do anything. He's the American dream. He really is. I mean, I don't think liberals still believe in the American dream. I think we do. And he's living proof of that. He is a walking example of the American dream. I mean, like it's inspiring to me. He's inspirational to me because he's like, his mom was a freaking heroin addict. She's a single mother. He could, to me, he's like a lot like Ben Carson. Ben Carson is the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, came from nothing and then look where he is now. That to me is the American dream. And those people on the left, they think that is bullcrap. They don't believe in it. I do. And I show my kid, I will always say to Gwen, you can do anything you want. He is a perfect example of that. Ben Carson is there are so many people on our side of the aisle who are perfect examples of that. You really can. You still can. It still exists. And he's proof.
And now Trump is going to return from an economic standpoint. He's going to make that dream possible again, where so many of the Biden policies did destroy that dream for a lot of people, made it that much more out of reach. And that's one thing that Trump has talked about a lot, is wanting to make the American dream possible for people again. So I just love that flashback because damn, that was incredible. Also, if you are a person who struggles to get your fruits and veggies, let us remind you about this amazing product, Field of Greens from Brickhouse Nutrition. Field of Greens is a green health powder that helps supplement you if you do not eat all the fruits and veggies that you're supposed to every day. And I know you don't. So don't try to pretend that you're some sort of perfect health person and you eat all the fruits and veggies that are recommended, because you don't. It's not even possible. I really think it's not possible to eat as much fruits and veggies as is recommended. I think you have to be like an actual rabbit to do that. So if you can't do it and you want a delicious alternative, Field of Greens green powder is amazing. It comes in a few different flavors. You just mix a little bit, like a scoop of it into water, shake it up. You can also use it in smoothies. Really, really great. And it actually improves your health. In fact, they say that if you don't notice a difference at your next doctor visit, you'll get your money back. So you can fuel your own health journey with Field of Greens. You can use code CHICKS at checkout at fogchicks.com. Use code CHICKS. You're going to get 20% off. Fogchicks.com is the website. It's delicious. We wouldn't take it otherwise. We promise.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of JD Vance, did he ever have the best interview of all time yesterday with that horrible, wretched cow, Margaret Brennan? So it was interesting because before the interview was aired, the transcript came out, the full transcript came out, and I read it, and I was so mad at her that I could not believe how combative she was right out of the gate, and for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, there was no reason for her to be that way, but she was. And it was evident in every single question. There was not a question she asked him that wasn't like a poke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's awful. So I encourage everybody to watch the whole damn thing because it's a thing of beauty. Like, there's no one that handles media like JD Vance. He's incredible. But we do have some highlights. In this first one, she was going after him about the fact that there were the blanket pardon of the J6ers, and she's all mad about that. And he explains to her exactly how it happened and why.
Weeks ago, you were on Fox News and you said if you protested peacefully on January 6th and had Merrick Garland's Department of Justice treat you like a gang member, you should be pardoned. If you committed violence on that day, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned. Did you counsel the president against these blanket pardons for 1,500 people?
Well, Margaret, I noticed,
including those who committed violence.
Margaret, I noticed that you cut off the thing that I said immediately after that. The full quote is that, of course, there are gray areas. And here's the nature of the gray area. Merrick Garland's Department of Justice denied constitutional protections in the prosecutions. There were double standards in how sentences were applied to the J6 protesters versus other groups. What the president said consistently on the campaign is that he was going to look at a case-by-case basis, and that's exactly what we did. We looked at 1,600 cases, and the thing that came out of it, Margaret, is that there was a massive denial of due process of liberty, and a lot of people were denied their constitutional rights. The president believes that, I believe that, and I think he made the right decision.
Yeah.
It's just masterful.
Yeah.
Masterful.
It's just like, frankly, Margaret, I don't give a damn. And that's
Oh yeah.
That's
he
where he's
absolutely
going.
that's where all the memes are today because of the quote from him not caring, which we'll get to.
Right.
She also said, well, but what about all the, the police officers that were beaten, and how can you justify any violence against a police officer? And here is his response to that nonsense.
Against a police officer is not justified, but that doesn't mean that you should have Merrick Garland's weaponized Department of Justice expose you to incredibly unfair process, to denial of constitutional rights, and frankly, to a double standard that was not applied to many people, including, of course, the Black Lives Matter rioters who killed over 24 people and never had the weight of a weaponized Department of Justice come against them. The pardon power is not just for people who are angels or people who are perfect. And of course, we love our law enforcement and want people to be peaceful with everybody, but especially with our good cops. That's a separate issue from what Merrick Garland's Department of Justice did. We rectified a wrong, and I stand by it.
So
Yeah.
good.
The media is not going to win this time. They're cooked. I mean, I think that the whole interview showed that it used to be that the media, at least they thought that they had the upper hand. They just don't anymore. And it's the next 4 years are going to be very, very interesting with how the media is dealt with, because we can't stand them and we hate them, and we definitely don't trust them. So,
yeah. Well, and she gives perfect reason not to. This was not journalism at all. This was
No.
not a normal journalistic interview.
it was an attack.
Yeah,
what it
that's
was.
exactly right.
And she's totally biased, and we all know it. They're absolutely biased, and we learned that the last time around, right? We've learned it the last 9 years how biased they are, and how against Trump and Vance that they are. So it's just going to be really interesting to see how all of this pans out over there, because they're just not taking it this time. We are not taking it.
And there's not any fear of the media. Like, I mean,
No.
Trump's never been afraid of the media. JD Vance will talk to anyone, as he proved this
Right.
weekend. So
Mhm.
it's going to be so much fun to watch.
It really is.
The only negative thing about it is that Trump and Vance will continue to give them ratings. You know what I mean? Where they could just ignore them entirely, and we'll get the news where we always get it, which is from Twitter.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's from like the citizen journalists, but they rely on Trump and Vance to give them reasons to go viral, to have these clips go viral. And the
Yeah.
only unfortunate thing is that they're going to give them to him.
Yeah. They're still
So,
tanking though.
yeah,
You
they
know,
are.
the MSNBCs and the CNNs, they're still tanking.
Mhm.